Welcome back to Steve Wynn to the non-frequencies of Radio Nowhere. We are here to talk about the upcoming European tour. Welcome back to Radio Nowhere, Steve.
Hey, it's nice to be back. Thank you.
I'm Raffo. I'm here with Jack, and I'm here with Gabriel at his first interview with us. And first of
All
all,
right.
I want to ask you, you're going to start a tour on the 21st of January with 4 Italian dates. On your recent US tour, you structured the set with the first part of the show focused on the songs from the newer albums, and the second part devoted to the Medicine Show, plus a few encores from the Days of Wine and Roses. Will the European concert follow the same structure?
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing. It worked great over here. We kind of similar to something we did a couple, like 3 years ago, Days of Wine and Roses. And we come out and play, yeah, songs off our last four albums, the ones we've made with the current lineup, and change it around a little bit each night, hopefully, and then take a break. And what we're doing, and this is going to be different than what we did on the Days of Wine and Roses tour, is we're going to play the entire Medicine Show album, but not in order and not as a carbon copy of the album, but rather as a show we might have played in 1984. There's a really good live record on the new box set from Chicago. And when I went back and heard that complete show, there it is. When I went back and heard this complete show, I went, man, that was what we should be doing. And as it turns out, that tour that came from is a tour we did with REM after the album came out, was 8-week tour, was the first tour we did with Mark Walden. And you can really hear what he brought to the band after the album came out. So we figured rather than imitate the album, let's do that that first tour we all did together. Amazingly enough, that show 40 years ago, and it's still me and Mark and Dennis up there playing these songs, which is going to be. I love that. I love that we've had this long relationship together, and then of course how much Jason Victor and Chris Kakovitz bring to the sound now.
Great. And since 2017, you have accustomed us to being quite prolific. Are you currently working on new material?
Yeah, I always am. There's always something going on. It's funny at this point because, the Dream Syndicate, of course, always was and really is now a big part of my life. And so, at least in the U.S., the baseball project, which we don't bring over there, but there's so many other bands. I was, in Danny and Dusty. I've made solo records, and the thing I'm doing right now that I didn't really see coming is I'm making a new record with Gutterball, our first record in 30 years, and that kind of happened out of the blue. So I'm excited about that, and it's just the way I feel these days is everything I've ever done is possible for more. I had the great tour in Italy just last year with Rodrigo D'Erasmo and Enrico Gabriele, and we had such a good time together. I could see that turning into something else. So it's just I always welcome new things, but at this point in my life, I've got so many old things I can kind of dip back into the past, and whatever feels inspiring in that moment is probably what I'll do.
Gabriel?
Right. All right. So just another question, Steve.
Yeah.
In the United States, you had session musicians and keyboards. And what will change on the European tour with Chris Kakovitz joining you, given that
Right,
he's a
yeah.
part of the new Dream Syndicate lineup, right?
And I'm a big believer in the idea that you change one member of the band and you change the band. It's something that the people don't always realize. They think, well, you've got a new bass player, a new keyboard player, but you're still the same. You're not. You change one member, especially in a band that's as improvisational as we are. It's a whole difference. So when we did the U.S. tours, to be honest, it was just not so easy to bring Chris Kakovitz over for those shows. So we had one keyboard player on the West Coast, a guy named Willie Aaron, who's a longtime friend of the band and plays in a great band called The Third Mind that you should all check out. But we had Willie, and he gave a certain vibe to us on the West Coast. Then on the East Coast, we brought in Josh Cantor, who is a longtime friend of Jason's and a friend of all of us, and he brought in his own kind of style. Now that we're coming to Europe, and the first show is going to be in Torino a week from Wednesday, or for your listeners, probably next Wednesday, I should specify. This is not live. It's almost live. But anyway, bringing Chris, and now Chris is, of course, a member of the Dream Syndicate. He's family. He's on all the recent records. He's even on some of the older records. So, you know, with Chris, it'll be different in that it's comfortable. It's who we know. It's we know what Chris brings and we love it. So it'll be, you know, it'll feel like the band we are will be complete again.
Great.
Before join the second part on the interview, in which we are going to talk about the medicine show that just turned 40, we like to hear a new song a song from the new Dream Syndicate albums. What would you like to hear, Steve?
Oh, you know what? I mean, it's so hard to choose, but I just thought, now that you asked me, I just thought of one. I'd love to play "Where I'll Stand" from the last album. It's the first song on um, Ultraviolet Battle Hymns and True Confessions. And it features at the very beginning this beautiful keyboard part that Chris wrote for the song and the record. And we have never played that part live because we have never done the song live with Chris. So I'm very curious to see if we do that. We'll find out when we take the stage.
Where I Stand, and then we come back for the second part of this interview. This was Where I Stand. We are here back in Radio Nowhere with Steve Wynn, and now we're going to talk about the album that is being celebrated with this tour, this Medicine Show, this 40-year edition. For the years are 41, but don't worry. And I advise you to buy this one because in streaming there's not the new mix. And but let's start about the genesis of this album that is very different compared to his predecessor, who was recorded and mixed in just 3 nights. I'm talking about the Days of Wine and Roses. For this album you changed city, worked with a major label, and spent 5 months on 8 songs. What was the period like for you, and how satisfied were you with the final result at the time?
Oh, that's a lot. That's a loaded question. There's a lot going on there. I'll start with the second half. I was very satisfied with the end result. We Medicine Show is one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life, and it's a very unique record. It's really not like anything else I've ever done. It's so the sound of it, the style of the songs, really the way I'm singing, the way everything is so dangerous and unhinged. It's just it's compelling. It reminds me of some of my favorite books and movies and records and how fearless it is. So I really liked the record a lot, and of course have played those songs live for many years. Now the other part of the question, it was very difficult to make, and I hated the process. I didn't like making it. It was 5 difficult months, and but it took those 5 months to get where we got, and that's the way things are sometimes. Sometimes things are so easy. I've made records in my life, like the Days of Wine and Roses, like the Universe Inside, the next to last Dream Syndicate album, really like all the recent Dream Syndicate albums, where it's pretty easy, you know, and it's very comfortable, and you just one foot in front of the other. Medicine Show was a lot of left turns and right turns and detours, and that's mainly because we were a different band. You know, I think it's where we started in this interview, the whole idea of you change one member and you change the band. Well, we had just lost Kendra Smith on bass and went with another bass player, really very good bass player named Dave Provost, an old friend. But that changed the band. And we, between changing the band member and also what we experienced after Days of Wine and Roses from touring and becoming successful and meeting a lot of new people and hearing new things and all of that, we really became different people in a very different band. And we went in the studio to make Medicine Show. I think it took us a while to figure out who we were. We knew we were no longer the Days of Wine and Roses Dream Syndicate. If we would have tried to make the same record twice, it would have felt like a lie. But we didn't know exactly who we were. And we went in with a producer named Sandy Pearlman. Sandy Pearlman, who was well known at the time, still is, for work with the Blue Oyster Cult and the Clash. He knew we were different, and he didn't know either. And some producers might have said, "Here's who you're going to be," and directed us. He was content just to have us chase everything in every direction till he was satisfied and we were satisfied. So it was a frustrating process because there were no easy answers. By the end, we figured it out.
You did. Just another question, Steve. The new mix of Medicine Show reveals completely different sounds, especially the central role
Yeah.
of guitars. Was this closer to you, to how you originally wanted the album to sound?
No, because I didn't really know how I wanted this album to sound. We went in at the beginning of the session for Medicine Show and just played the songs like we would have played them live. And it was fine, but it felt like something was missing, and we just had to find that. So I think that I wouldn't have imagined where it would have ended up. One key moment was about halfway through the session. Um, Sandy and I both agreed that some keyboards on the record would be nice. And Sandy said, "Well, I know this keyboard player um, on the East Coast named Tommy Zavanchek. We've worked together before." He brought him out to play, I can't remember which song, but maybe to play on Burn or Meritful. And once I heard what he added to the music, I said, that's the missing ingredient. The songs were so dramatic and so, like little movies. And adding the keyboards really made it feel like, yeah, now the songs sound the way they should. So that was a big turning point. And we didn't go into the record saying this is going to be a record that features keyboards so heavily, but it did. And that was, we'll do the same thing live as well. I think it's one thing I really like about the box set, the new box set, is that it shows you through live performances that came between the first and second album. It shows you how we got where we got. When there have been times in my life where I thought, well, what if we would have just gone into Make Medicine Show, played everything live in 1 week and gone home? Well, on the box set, you can hear what that would sound like because we played those songs live and you can kind of hear it. And it would have been a fine record. It would have been acceptable. It would have been, a good second record to lead to the third one, but it wouldn't have been Medicine Show. It wouldn't have been a record I liked as much as I do.
All right.
And a personal curiosity, did any of the unreleased or alternate takes on the box sets influence the band's current live arrangements? Will fan hear versions on stage that reflects those alternative takes?
You mean which version on stage now reflects the alternative state?
Yes.
Um, None really, because we're really playing the live show in the style of, if not Medicine Show itself, in the style of the way we played those songs after we made the album. So really, a good example, for example, is Armed with an Empty Gun, which is a song I wrote really right after Days of Wine and Roses. I think I wrote that a month after Wine and Roses came out. It was one of the first songs for the new album. And I had written the song to be kind of like just a 4-chord circular thing, a rocking guitar song, kind of like, and I copped to this bit of thievery, a little like the song Fortune Teller, the New Orleans song that the Rolling Stones also did, a little that kind of thing. And we would play it live that way, and it didn't quite work. It felt like, well, it's an okay song. And by the time we took it into the studio, we found a way to make the song really cool. And so now we play it live, we play it that way. I wouldn't want to go back to the earlier way. So really nothing we're doing live now with that album feels like regressing to the previous way. It all feels like the band we became.
Okay.
And about the box set, we have more than 40 songs in this box, but I've noticed
lot,
a strangest thing that there's only the studio version of Meritful.
Yeah, right. That's that really comes down to Pat Thomas, who put together the box set and is our archivist, who's done all of our reissues. Pat and I worked on this together, but Pat really on this this box set, he really excuse me, he really took the lead on this with my encouragement because this is his baby and he did a great job. And I think I think he had to choose what to include and what not to include. And there are no live versions of Meritful or of Daddy's Girl, I don't think. And there are no versions of Still Holding On to You from after we made the album. So there's things that were there and weren't there. Just we were playing them all live. But I got to tell you, Meritful sounds great right now. The current live versions are really wonderful. It's I think that and of course we'll find out in a week and a half how it's going to be in reality because I'm speaking in theory now. But by choosing to model the show after a live show from '84 rather than the record, it gives it the freedom to get a little wilder, get a little looser, get a little more rocking while still being true to the record. And so I think that's what's coming out in the show, what you'll see on stage on the tour.
Yes, I'm really a huge fan of this new mix. I wasn't really a fan of the old original mix. In this one,
Hmm.
uh, you can hear really better the guitars. And
Yes, indeed.
one last question, Steve. The Paisley Underground was born to bring guitars back to the forefront at the time when
Mm.
they had lost their the central role. Today, with rock music often described as being in crisis, do you think a new Paisley Underground is needed?
Oh, well, I will start with what you said first. Is that the new sound of Medicine Show? When I hear this new mix and master of Medicine Show, it sounds like the record we were making. It sounds to me, to my ears, it brings me back to being in the studio making the album and what I heard in the speakers. Unfortunately, at the time, there were so many limitations on what you could put onto vinyl because of, for example, if a record was too long, it compromised the volume, the power of the record. It was a it was as good as we could do at the time, but this new version really sounds the way it was meant to sound. So that's very, makes me happy. As far as the other thing you said, there are a lot of great bands out right now. I don't feel the way now I did in 1981. We're like, wow, where's the music I love? There's so many good bands, and guitars are alive and well. I mean, there's so many things I love, and I'm always hearing new things. I mean, I like that whole world of music with MJ Lenderman and all the bands around him, and that's plenty of Guitar Hero stuff. And but lately, I think that there's a great boom um, in classic songwriting, adventurous songwriting with people like, Ryan Davis and the Roadhouse Band, or even the last Bonnie Prince Billy record, or there. I guess what I'm trying to say, there are plenty of good records out there. You know, when we started the Dream Syndicate, and I guess the other Paisley Underground bands, we felt kind of desperate to bring back a music that we were missing. I think now, whatever you want, it's there somewhere. No one, no one needs, me or anybody I know to be a hero. I think the best thing you can do now is just make great art, make great records, write great songs. Try to strip down the artifice of um, genre and description and reach closer just to the emotions of people. I think what we need in this world right now more than anything is to connect, to have some kind of honest emotional impact. That's what people are looking for. And art can do that. A great movie can do that. A book can do that. And music can do that. So for me, when I go in the studio, I don't think anymore in terms of, I want to bring back garage rock, or I want to bring back guitars, or I want to bring back punk rock or the 60s or the 70s. I think more in terms of, what can I do that's going to, maybe touch somebody in some way, even for a minute or two. And that's a good challenge.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Then we can remember the first date of the tour, that are the Italian dates, the
Yeah.
21
Yes.
Turin, 22 Bologna, and then do you remember them, Steve?
Yeah, Roma. Going down the long drive down to Roma. And that's going to be great, that show. And then back up to Magnolia, Milan. So yeah, and I got to tell you, these four shows, they're selling really well. And not to, raise the red flag, but they are going pretty quickly. So I think that people should get their tickets in advance, because I think I think right now Rome is close to selling out, and Bologna too. So look out.
Okay, see you on tour, Steve. I'll be in Bologna,
Yeah.
and
Oh, great, great.
then I let you choose one songs from this new mix of Medicine Show we just talked about.
Wow, so many things I'd like to choose. I'm going to choose the live version from Chicago, "Bullet with My Name on It." I really like that one a lot, and that's been a real highlight of the set as well. And you can enjoy this one as it is, but then imagine Jason Victor playing the solo, and he's fantastic on this. So you'll want to hear what he does with this song in person.
Bullet with my name on it from live in Chicago, but I have to tell you that Bullet with my name on it is one of the songs that most benefit from the new mix, in my opinion.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, guitars. No matter what else we say, no matter what else I ever experiment with in my life, and I do love experimenting, I always come back to the guitar. I'm looking at a bunch of them right now across the room.
See you soon, Steve. See you on stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Great talking to you.
Thank you,
nice
Steve.
talking to all you guys, and
Thank you.
I'll see you very soon.